But some of Japanese good racer says feeding method is important for me.
But you must understand, in Europe, some people tell that because of commercial purpose. And they like to do interesting to others.
Maybe composition might be not so important.
That's one, and the second one is they believe themselves. You understand? They think. 25 years ago, I had same opinion, because I always thought, oh, different system and this and that, and more, I realized myself that the pigeon itself knows much better what it needs than all the fanciers of the world together.
But
and it's simple, and it's too simple for many people to believe. People like to believe that there's a secret. The secret is the good pigeon and the good health.
yes, of course. But if you want to do well training, for example, in the morning 2 hours, afternoon 2 hours, then you have to control with the feeding.
But you can do, the bird will do it herself. And if you change the system, you need 2 years. Because if you do it on a way, in the beginning light, then up, at the last 1 or 2 days more fat, then, and if you change suddenly, your bird has to change with you, and that's maybe a small problem. And for Vitesse, of course it's important. If for Vitesse you give volle bak, you will lose, because then it's but from 500 kilometers, I'm almost sure.
I understand. Okay.
That's my opinion, and my opinion is after 50 years of experience, because more and more theory was made by people, and the result is made by the pigeon. And if you see, like Willem, like Gerard, like Rick, and of course Rick had some fat-rich food the last 2 days. He told you this morning, I think, because he also knows that the bird, sure, when he gives them 500-600 kilometer races a year, then they need more energy and more fat. But basically, it's quite simple.
なんでもいいけど、俺は取らなくていいんだから、なんで、俺は。Should we go out?
You can go out. My name is Jan Hermans. I'm 71 years old now. I'm impressed by pigeon sport since my child time. I started in my parents' farm on a very, very low base with a few birds, fancy birds and racing pigeons. Then when I was 12, when I went to college, I finished. I went for different kind of sports like soccer and cycle racing. From my 18, I started again pigeon sports with my wife's father, and we had a nice partnership, but it's a pity he already died in 76. From 72 I raised pigeons on myself again, and with quite a lot of success, sometimes a little less, and the reason was that I did many other things, so I was much too busy. Middle of the 70s I started to be a reporter for Nederlands Postduivenorgaan, and I wrote weekly chronics for the dive. The same time I was invited by Professor van Grembergen and Arie van den Hoek to write the famous Big Racing Pigeon book together. This book is probably the most sold book in history of Dutch language. After, when I was more and more involved in the dive, we decided to become shareholder of the dive around 1980. In the beginning we were with 4 people, after together with Gust Rijmakers, and since the end of the 80s I bought all the rights of the dive. End of the 80s I also quit my job for the government and I became full professional in the dive. From that time also Rick was more involved as a student. He can tell himself what he did, but with the dive we have a history of almost 140 years. At this moment we are the only weekly pigeon magazine in Belgium, and we are still quite popular. Of course, today it's completely different to 50 years ago, since internet came up. But we still do well, and the 2 most important things for the dive through the year, of course, are the Golden 10. We started 6 years ago, and more important for the sports, of course, the Gouden Dive. The Gouden Dive is a competition for pigeon fanciers from Germany, Holland, and of course Belgium. And every year many people come to join the special party where the party is to honor the winners. And in the meantime, as I told you, Rick joined, and since I had also more problems with my health, he is the boss now of the company, and I'm very happy. Also a couple of years Anke, my daughter, joined our team, so now we are the real family who is running the dive.
Fortunately, last year you got sickness, and you must keep distance from pigeon now. But I think you have still keeping desire for pigeon sport, and in one side you are unlucky, but in other hand, all of your family, Rick, Anke, all your family are focusing pigeon sport. In such meaning, you are also lucky man.
Of course, I'm lucky man. I think enjoy pigeon sport is the most nice thing in life, and if you can do it together with your kids, and also Mike, Anke's boyfriend, is now member of our company. So, and I told you before, also Nelly, my wife, still do a lot for administration. But the most important for me is that I have the opportunity to enjoy pigeon sport special in Pulle, in Rick's place, where almost every week I will watch the arrival of the birds, we talk together, and even if I cannot handle the birds anymore, I still know them and I still enjoy, especially when the results are good. Of course, if results are good, it's much more fun. If the results were not so good, I don't know what would happen. But in this situation, I can survive, and I hope still many years.
Thank you. And Rick is now focusing to middle and one-day long-distance races in Belgium. But I think Jan, you have also desire for extremely long distance. Have you still desire to success on this?
Of course, Ken. As you know, we will move half of the lofts in Waalre, and on the one loft we will go with a small team, maybe only for 3-4 races a year, but then special Barcelona and maybe Perpignan and maybe 1 or 2 more. But just with a very small team. And of course it's a pity I cannot manage myself, I cannot take care of myself, but in the meantime, on a distance, I still have the opportunity to enjoy. And maybe we won a lot, you know, but we never won National Barcelona. And maybe the end of my life we will have that experience. Who knows?
You are already Belgian national champion, but in other hand, you are also manager of the dive. And is it not difficult to how to say, get balance?
Yeah.
The racing season with my birds starts in March. I start training the old birds, the young birds go out, and then the winter season of the dive is ended. The Gouden Dive is end of February, and after that I get more time for the pigeons. When the pigeon races end beginning of September, the winter season with the auction starts again, so it's quite nicely balanced to handle both things in a good way.
Of course, he's lucky till now that he has not responsibility for mating the stock birds. The stock birds till now are located in Waal, and we take care of them. But coming winter, all the stock birds for the middle and one-day races will move to Pulle, so Johan will help us in Pulle to do it. But of course, in that situation, Rick will be a little bit more involved, so he will have a little bit more work also in Pulle for the pigeons. From the other hand, from the other side, Mike, Anke's boyfriend, can help Rick more in the management and other things of the dive, like the exhibitions, the special events for pigeons and so on.
Thank you. You already, in pigeons, through pigeon sports, everybody knows, everybody can get so many friends all over the world. You, of course, you too. And but this time, especially, could you say something, message to Japanese fans?
Rick or me?
One time you and one time. Okay.
Okay, you know I always liked to visit Japan more than which other country in the world, because the nice feeling I have with the Japanese ventures is very special. The first time I came to Japan was in 1981 during the Olympiad. From that time, together, you and me, we became close friends and we did business. Many nice memories I have, special memories, like the first time I came with Rob in 1986, and then after in 1989 when we brought Beatrix, at that moment the most expensive and the most sensational pigeon in the world, with first National Saint Vincent and second National Ducks, was bought by Mr. Kijima, and we brought her as hand luggage to Japan. And Mr. Kijima organized a special welcome party, and since that time we have many nice memories, and we brought so many top birds. The one I remember very well was of course Playboy Barcelona, with the owner Mr.
Kumita?
Hattori?
No, not Kumita.
Playboy of Hattori, Mr. Hattori.
Mr. Hattori. And we had also very special parties. And what I really enjoy in Japan is the many small meetings in the Barben Chicken restaurant, in the small office like Mr. Shirayama, only very small, simple, but we can talk about pigeons for many hours and everybody enjoy. And of course, China and Taiwan is also exciting, but it's more money, business, and gambling. In Japan, it's much more nice hobby, and people really enjoy also talking about pigeons. Also, the few times you invited me to be guest speaker in Kyoto with Dr. Namikawa and his friends, where I will never forget. And so I can continue for hours.
Thank you very much. And advice are also good.
I'm been to Japan several times. Always I felt very welcome. A lot of my pigeons always went to Japan. When I was a student and I raised the young birds only, Kenichi every year bought them and sent them to Japan. They were selected pigeons, and immediately from the start people succeeded very well with them. Like a daughter of Whittlers, like Bjarne. I remember they bred very well in Japan. Afterwards also the descendants of Cowgirl, Athena, now Friendship, they do very well in Japan. I'm very happy with that. It's always nice if people succeed with your pigeons.
Thank you very much.